Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Kim and I have been teaching Yin Yoga for a bit now, and I'm excited for you to join me in this moment on your mat. Go ahead and grab yourself a mat or at least a easy place for you to be able to lie down and stand up a little bit for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, moving through several breathing and physical movement exercises. As you find yourself a space to be, gather any yoga props that you use, such as a bolster or blocks or an eye pillow. Or if yoga props are not something you currently have around you, gather a few pillows off of your bed or your couch and add a blanket underneath where your knees will be, as we will have a few hands on our knees and knees on the ground poses. Yin Yoga is a practice of moving intentionally through different movements without necessarily expecting any level of flexibility, physical fitness, or any of the things that you have as preconceived notions about what yoga might be. Those don't apply here. Any version of the pose is the pose. And if you've taken a class with me before, you've often heard me say that phrase, as well as noticing that when we find ourselves in two-sided poses, one side might be very different than the other. That's because your body isn't as symmetrical as maybe you would think or hope or expect or Instagram could lead you to believe. We each live our days and our lives moving through the motions of what we're expected to do. Some of those motions allow different parts of our body to be strained or stressed in different ways than others. Sometimes that varies day to day, hour to hour, or season to season. As you find yourself moving through postures tonight that include two sides, please remember not to judge yourself, not to have expectations that are unreasonable for yourself, and also not to push yourself to a sense of pain. Throughout Yin Yoga, I instruct classes to kind of ride the wave of sensation. And what I mean by that is if you were to rate sensation on a scale of 0, meaning exactly maybe how you feel right now, where nothing's exacerbated, nothing's stretched too much, you're just kind of here, to a scale of pain, if we wanted to give pain the number 10. We never want to get to pain. We never want to experience pain, and we never want to cause ourselves pain just for this purpose of growing. We might want to cause ourselves to move into sensation, to notice discomfort, and to notice what it can be like to sit with discomfort and ask it what it has to teach us. So find yourself maybe at about a 6, where 6 is sensation. Maybe you're looking to move a little bit deeper, so you move into a 7, but never really move yourself past there, because then you're bordering on the edge of pain, strain, and pushing yourself for the sake of pushing yourself, rather than sitting at that growth edge. So go ahead and find yourself in a comfortable seat or lying down if you haven't already. Officially getting ourselves into restorative, restorative, but more restorative yoga tonight, with the intention idea of kind of just, I don't want to say resetting our nervous system, but just paying attention to intentionally taking a break and intentionally trying to kind of move out of the hustle and bustle, physically, emotionally, mentally, of whatever our day, week, year is like, into just being still. And so in a moment, we will move into child's pose as our first pose. But as we all four here just get situated, starting our yoga journey, I want you to just kind of take stock of where you are right now. And that might mean taking stock of noticing how your body feels, noticing any parts of your body that are talking to you right now. Whether that be saying, like, I hope that we'd move in this way, or I hope we don't move in this way. And then just noticing what the room is like around you, the space that you have crafted for yourself as your home self-care space.
Maybe taking a moment just to look around and notice the elements of the space that you've made for yourself, the lighting, the props you've gathered, the pets you've gathered, the temperature of your room, and then begin to drop into the space of your body. And so, with that, if you feel comfortable, go ahead and just close your eyes for a minute and begin paying attention to your breath. I'm going to be quiet for about 2 minutes. And with that time, I want you to just pay attention to what it feels like to be breathing right now today. Notice your inhales and your exhales. No need to change them unless you want to, but just pay attention to your breath for 2 minutes as we begin to move into class together. And if you're finding yourself struggling to pay attention to your breath, just choose a visualization that works for you. That can be your inhale and exhale. I sometimes like to use the visualization of a wave. Sometimes as I inhale, the water is drawing towards the shore. And as I exhale, it's going back out into the sea. Other times it's the opposite. Or maybe you like to imagine a balloon inflating and then deflating. But just find yourself an anchor point for your breath that you can come back to throughout tonight's class. And as we prepare to move from seated in just a few moments into our first posture, which will be child's pose, just notice what it feels like to be seated right now. Notice the points of your body touching the ground. Notice what it's like to have your spine upright, to have space in front of and behind you. We'll move from face down through some face up positions, through some twists. Just be aware of the space around you and take up as much space as you want tonight in each of these postures. Literally, with your breath, internally, emotionally. You have full permission to move, to sit, to breathe, to explore, and just to rest for the next hour. And so go ahead and briefly begin to flutter open your eyes if you need them to transition. And then find your way from seated into a child's pose position. Maybe tonight, in the interest of a restorative class, you want to add a bolster underneath your chest. Maybe you want to add a blanket underneath you or wrap it around you so that it's on top of you. But go ahead and shift into either wide-legged or knees together, whatever works for you. But a child's pose position, maybe you want to come from hands and knees in a tabletop leg, shifting your knees out to the side, shifting your hips back towards your heels. And just bring your upper body forward, resting it on the mat or a prop. And just bring either your forehead directly down to the prop or the mat, or one side of your face. I will let us know when we're halfway through if you'd like to have one side of your face and then shift. But just sink back into child's pose, noticing points of contact again with the ground. And see if you can use the next few breaths to inhale and fill yourself up. And then on your exhales, can you melt into everything that's supporting you? And just let yourself be held and supported and received. And over the next few breaths, if you would like to change which side of your face is on the mat, use the breath to flip over your head, settle back in, and rest into the second half of this pose. And coming back to your body, if you found yourself drifting, notice again parts of your body that are making contact with the mat and the prop. Begin to imagine yourself transitioning from this posture into just a pose sometimes called a reclined bound angle. It's just going to be butterfly legs lying back onto our prop. And the way that I like to transition from this posture is just stretch out my arms, place my palms flat on the mat, and just inch my way up, leaving my legs as they are, briefly walking my palms back towards my legs. And then once we're at the top, the easiest way to minimize having to move or use too much energy is just to keep your bolster where it is or shift it up a little bit towards the mat. And just lift yourself up, spin yourself around so that your lower back is against the bolster. And then if you would like to add a block underneath it to make it more of a ramp, you're welcome to. I'm not going to tonight. But then decide if you would like how you would like your legs for this. What we're going to be doing from here is just lying ourselves back. Maybe you want to add a blanket over yourself or underneath your head or your back. But I'll be taking my feet into butterfly legs. And then on an exhale breath, just drape yourself back onto that bolster. Maybe you need to hold on to the bottom of it as you lie back so that it doesn't move. Just lay your back, noticing what it feels like to move immediately from face down to face up. Maybe with your feet in butterfly, you'd like to add blocks underneath your knees so that they don't have to have any effort. You kind of like that flapping of butterfly legs. Or maybe you want a completely different leg position. Make any adjustments you need. And again, we'll be here for a bit. So use your breath to drop in and just rest. You can place your hands anywhere that makes sense to you or stretch them out. Nothing to do, nothing to accomplish, just resting and receiving, flowing with your breath. Maybe you begin to notice that you want to yawn more. Take this as a good sign as your nervous system is slowing down, calming down, and moving out of any fight or flight or active state it needed to be in throughout your day. We're halfway through this posture. So if you'd like to adjust your arms or your legs in any way, make those adjustments, settle back in, and just continue to be here. And our next pose together is going to be another forward facing, face down posture. It's going to be seated forward fold. Some people like to call this caterpillar, or it can be butterfly forward fold. And so on our way there, we're going to return from here up to a seat and just pay attention and do our only intentional stretch of the evening, which will just be a neck stretch. And so preparing yourself to transition from lying back up to seated, go ahead and bring your arms along your sides and begin at your own pace to press your elbows down into the mat, lifting your head and tucking your chin to your chest, and then move from your elbows to your palms. Just slowly lift yourself up, no rush, so that you come back to a seat upright. And from here, no need to make any movements just yet. But just notice what it feels like to be seated upright again. You were just here a bit ago. And then there's always the option to do shoulder rolls, just lifting our shoulders up and rolling them back or rolling them forward when you're seated. But what we'll do first is just our next stretch of the day, which will be just taking one ear and dropping it towards that shoulder. I'm going to drop my right ear first, but there's no rhyme or reason. And just try not to let the opposite shoulder come with you. And so if you have your right ear drop towards your right shoulder, make sure that your left shoulder is not trying to creep up to your ear. Maybe you want to stretch your hands out to the side, place them on the mat, kind of spider fingers, so that you can more intentionally feel the stretch. And you can play around with looking down at your shoulder or up to the ceiling, if your eyes open or closed. But just notice what it feels like to stretch your neck here for a few breaths. And then when you feel complete, lifting your head back up to the center. Maybe you want to look around a little bit, just moving, noticing range of motion, noticing what it feels like to briefly move. And then drop your other ear towards your other shoulder. So I'll be dropping my left ear to my left shoulder this time, leaving the right one where it is. And just play around here for a bit with your breath. Maybe consciously paying attention to what an inhale and an exhale feel like, or not. Just letting your neck stretch. Looking down, looking up as you'd like. And then use an inhale breath to guide your head back up to center when you're ready. No rush. Once you find your way to center, just roll your shoulders any number of times, any which way that you feel your body is asking for. Maybe shake them out. Maybe you just sit in stillness. It's your class with your body. And then as you feel complete, we will just shift ourselves back around to similar to how we were in child's pose, facing the bolster again. Or you can bring the bolster in front of you, of course, if you like facing the direction you are. And for the seated forward fold, when you are ready, what we will do is simply choose whether you'd like to keep your legs kind of curled in into the butterfly position that you have, or maybe you want to stretch them out together, stretch them out separated a little bit. The purpose of our next posture will simply be a forward fold to round our spine, but from a seated position. And so that can look any way that you would like it to look tonight. My hamstrings are incredibly tight tonight, so I'm going to stretch out my legs, reach for my toes, see if I can grab them, and just drape my upper body forward, seeing if it's interested in resting on a bolster. But you might be doing something different, and that is perfectly okay. We will just round our spine, see if you can make sure to have something your forehead can rest on, so you can soften any tension that's in your face. And just let yourself completely relax. And as we get ready to move on from this posture, the next posture is going to be a two-sided supported twist. And so on our way there, we're going to go back through that seated position and take any additional neck or shoulder rolls or just moments of stillness that we would like. And so move your hands from where they are to somewhere that will help you unroll your spine back up to seated, being mindful of how your body feels to uncurl and unwind. Maybe at the top with your eyes still closed, you even want to lift your head up and look up towards the ceiling and drop your head back to just fully uncurl your spine. And then just spend a minute or so twisting and adjusting your neck in any way that it wants, looking in any direction that it wants, rolling your shoulders. And then we will move into our twist. And so to move into our twist together, just adjust yourself so that your bolster is on one side of your hips. And so maybe you want to adjust your body so that it's facing towards the camera and your bolster is where it is. And that is the hip that you start with for twisting. You can do this in a couple ways. I'm going to guide us into what some people call deer twist, which what that'll look like is having, for me, my bolster's on my left side. So my left shin is along the long side of my mat, and my right shin is, what is this, parallel with the back of my mat. So my legs are kind of open here. You can also leave your legs stacked. And then when you are ready, whether you are having your feet in deer legs, which will add in some of a hip stretch if you are interested in that tonight, just take a moment with your upper body still upright, close your eyes and notice how this feels. And then I like to move into this by placing one hand on each side of my bolster and twisting my upper body over it. And then walking my hands out so that my upper body can come down onto that bolster. And maybe as you do this, you notice you'd like to add blocks under that to prop it up, change something else. Make yourself comfortable. We will be in this side for a while and then transition into the other side. And I will let you know when we are halfway through this side in case you'd like to have one side of your face down and then make that shift. Just settle in, let your spine unwind while also winding, and let yourself be supported. And you're about halfway through. So if you'd like to shift from one ear to the other, resting down on the mat, go ahead and do so. And so, as we prepare to shift to the other side, notice what you feel supporting you right now. Notice what that feels like emotionally to just melt into and receive this support from your props and your mat. And then placing your hands on either side of the prop, pressing your elbows down, forearms down, come up to palms, and then be really, really careful to come out of this slowly, just to allow your spine to not need to work harder, not need to rubber band, snap back into place, come back up. And then maybe you want to bring your legs directly out in front of you or in some way that feels intuitively right to you. And maybe you want to windshield wiper them, bounce them up and down. Just be here in neutral for just a moment before we move to the other side. And then I'm going to shift my prop just to the other hip. You maybe want to just roll around, whichever works for you. And then adjust your legs into a similar position as they were on the first side. And you know where we're going. So your own time in your own way. Place your hands on either side of your prop. And then twist your upper body. And then guide yourself down. And if you notice, as is true with any two-sided posture, that you experience one side different than the other, as always, I encourage you not to pass any judgment about that. Our bodies can look symmetrical, but we use them in different ways. So it's okay that they move and function and stretch and rest in different ways. Just be gentle and kind to yourself. Let yourself melt and just receive the support of your props. If you'd like to shift anything, we are at the halfway point in this posture. Just go ahead and make that change. And notice again the parts of your body contacting the mat, contacting the prop, and begin to prepare to shift out of this posture. We'll be moving from here to supported bridge pose. So when you're ready, place your hands down and use them to guide yourself up, slowly untwisting, walking up, and then untwisting is my favorite way to get out of this while being really mindful to my body. And then once you find yourself back at the top, feel free to move in any way that makes sense for your body, or move your legs back to neutral, windshield wipering, shaking, wiggling, just coming back to sensation across your whole body in a neutral way. Taking an inhale breath and noticing what it's like to feel your spine upright again after a twist. Be noticing what your neck and shoulders feel like as well. And then to shift into supported bridge posture, you can do this with blocks or a bolster. I'm going to be demonstrating and using a bolster tonight. And so the way that I like to do supported bridge with the bolster is just to shift it sideways on my mat. And then from there, what I will do is just kind of, you can come into this from sitting on top of the bolster, or if you already know that you aren't interested in that and like to just get into bridge pose, maybe you come down into bridge pose, lift up and slide it under. But to come in from sitting on top of it, my bolster is sideways on my mat, so opposite the way that it was before. And then I just sit on my bolster and then walk my hands backwards, come down onto my forearms. And once I'm down on my forearms, I have shifted a little bit off my bolster. So I will have to just lift myself up into bridge pose, slide the bolster underneath my back, and then here I am in bridge pose with a bolster under my lower back. And so depending upon how your body feels today, this might actually feel like an active stretch, which it is not intended to. And so if this is the case, maybe supported bridge pose is more of a challenge than you might expect tonight. But hopefully this can feel like a rest. And so if you get into this and notice that it's kind of waking up your lower back, maybe a windshield wiper your knees side to side. Feels great. That is great. And there's options for your legs. You can leave your feet planted on the ground with your knees up to the ceiling. Or some people like to stretch one leg out at a time or both legs out to kind of add in a hip flexor stretch. I like to do that sometimes, but my body is not interested today, so I won't. But just find yourself in supported bridge with the bolster or blocks if you've chosen that route underneath your lower back. Your arms can be at your sides or planted on your body in some way, or stretched out long ways or above your head. After this, we will come into legs up the wall, which we can also just do as waterfall. And so knowing that that's where we're going, you're welcome to do these poses in whichever order makes sense to you, if you would actually like to shift that up. But here in supported bridge, just let yourself melt. Coming back to your breath and that anchor point or visualization if you need to. And just drop in. And we're halfway through this posture. So if you wanted to try anything different with your legs or your arms, feel free. And knowing where we're going from here is that we're headed to either legs up the wall if you would like to make adjustments to where you are, or you can just come into waterfall, which is legs up the wall exactly from where we are, which my legs are going to be kind of propped against the imaginary wall, not necessarily straight today, but it's just this lifting your legs up, imagining that the soles of your feet can come onto your ceiling. Maybe you want to move in a little bit of play briefly into this, where you imagine walking on your ceiling. So just see how that feels. Maybe swaying side to side momentarily. Maybe you need to adjust because you prefer to have more of your back on your bolster. We'll just be in this pose for 3 minutes, but of course, you're welcome to stay as long as you'd like. And then pose after this is Shavasana. And so sometimes legs up the wall with a wall can be an excellent posture to end your day if you've had a pretty hectic day, just by having them leaning against something, shifting how our blood flow is moving, and just inviting our nervous system to calm down. I sometimes like to lie in bed at night when I'm feeling especially anxious and just prop my legs up against the headboard until I feel tired, and then curl my knees into my chest and roll over and head into sleep. So maybe imagine yourself getting ready to fully rest and transition into sleep. Just be here. Maybe experiment a little bit with moving your feet closer towards your head or swinging side to side if you notice yourself wanting a little bit of movement. If you don't, no need to do anything different. Coming into our last little bit of guided time in this posture. If you would like to stay here longer, you are more than welcome to. But if you'd like to move on, you're welcome to curl your knees into your chest. You grab the outsides of your feet, come into a happy baby in this interesting position. Maybe you wiggle your way so that you wiggle your bolster out from under you into happy baby. But I kind of like playing around with this idea of curling into this position, swaying side to side, feeling your back along the mat. And do whatever you would like. And then transition into what you would like your Shavasana to be tonight. Maybe that's simply shifting your bolster down and letting your knees rest on it. Maybe it's resting fully on the mat. Maybe it's something else. We'll have a bit of time, about 6 or 7 minutes here in Shavasana, to just let everything fully integrate. So take all the time you need to get there. Grab anything that you would like to add under or on top of yourself, and just rest and release anything else that you would like to. Knowing that taking time to rest is just as important as taking time to be active in our lives these days. Some of us have more opportunities for one than the other, but both are equally as valid, both are equally as important, and equally as necessary for cultivating a life where we listen to our bodies and give them what they need, including our mind, including our emotions. Trust yourself to know what you need and adjust as needed. And so, as we begin to move on tonight's practice into the rest of our evening, maybe you have things to do, or maybe you're moving right from here into sleep. Notice how you feel right now, physically, emotionally, maybe even spiritually. That's something in your practice. And take an inhale breath and see if you can seal in that feeling as if you're creating a core memory marble in the Inside Out film from Pixar. Seal this in. Know that you can always return back to it, literally in the form of the physical shape that you're in, but also this memory exists of this feeling in this time. Begin to wiggle your toes, your ankles, fingers, and your wrists. Maybe begin to rock your head side to side, noticing your head in contact with the mat. And then imagine yourself curling up into a little ball and rolling over onto your side. And then if that sounds enjoyable to you, go ahead and take your time and curl up into that little shape on the way to a seat. No rush, no specific manner in which you need to get there. Take as long as you need to soak in anything along the way. And as you find yourself closing out your practice, just remember that it's important to be gentle with your body, even when it feels like you want to be doing something else. Today, I had plans for what I was intending to do before this class that involved far more activity than my body was interested in. And I chose, against my pride, to do what I needed, to rest, to pause. And so know that it's okay. Know that it's okay to feel a little bit disgruntled about it on the way, but it's important to rest. It's important to get ourselves to this place as often as we can, as we need to, and as we're able to. And so we'll just take a breath to seal our practice together, placing your hands wherever you would like. And take a deep, full inhale breath, filling yourself up, just holding it at the top. And if it feels right to you, take an open mouth exhale. And take as many more breaths as you need. Thank you for taking time for you, choosing to spend it with me. Hope this was nourishing to your body and your nervous system. And I'll be here for a bit if you need me.
Thank you for taking a class with me, taking this time for you, and being a part of my online offering of free yin and restorative yoga to anyone who needs a break. As per usual, since this is YouTube, I'm here to ask you to subscribe, like, and share this video with anyone you think who might enjoy the same break that you just took. And if you would like to financially support these offerings, feel free to check out the description or visit my website, unbrokencircles.com, and you can see various ways to support me through Venmo, PayPal, or sharing the offerings that I put out with others who might need them. Thank you for taking this time. I love offering this to you, to anyone who needs it, and I'm grateful that you took this time to be with yourself, with me, and I hope to see you again. Please feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions. Have a great day.